Gentlemen, thank you all for coming. This is the March 6th meeting of the Unionville Town Board. Start out by salute to the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, first item is to approve the minutes of 2/21 Town Board meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, supervisor report. I will keep this short and sweet. Looks like we're going to have a number of speakers tonight, and I'm just going to go over the guidelines that we have here. Because of the number of speakers, I am going to have to limit it to 3 minutes each. And you cannot share your allotted time period with anyone else. So when that time comes, that's how we're going to run it. Any board member reports, John?
Not really, other than reviewing budget and looking to where we may be able to supply enough money for some of the projects we got coming up. Mainly the salt shed initially because we did not get the grant. And secondly, the roof.
Councilman Cardelami?
I just want to give an update on a few things. I know a couple meetings ago, I discussed about some zoning changes. Jim Nelson is working on those changes. I don't have them yet. Hopefully we'll have them in a day or two so that I can get those over to the board, members of the board for the next meeting. So we get that process moving forward. And I think that's pretty much all I have. Thank you.
Councilman Derlin?
Again, just reviewing, like John said, unfortunately, we didn't get the salt shed grant, so taking a look at that. Also, the other capital projects that we have been looking at in light of talking about the roof and some of the other things we've been trying to move forward, and then obviously all this library stuff is resurfacing, so just looking into that.
Councilman McGivney?
Just keeping up with the correspondence, a lot of emails going around. Like to remind the residents our clocks go forward this weekend. So getting light year longer, which is nice. That's all I got.
Okay. Town clerk report.
Okay, the date everyone has been waiting for shredding day has been scheduled. It's June 5th, which is a Wednesday. And again, the truck will be there between 10 and 2 for 1 hour. I won't know a closer window until the week of, and then you're welcome to let me know if you would like to be on a call list, if you want to be notified when the truck pulls in. Also, I'm not sure if it's part of our animal control officer's report, but there was a dog found in Unionvale on, does anyone remember what date? Monday or Tuesday. It's a puppy, German Shepherd puppy. It was at the Circle, and we have pictures online. It's currently being taken care of at Mutt's Mansion. So if you think you know the owner, or you might, give us a call and let us know. That's all I have.
Okay, tax collector report.
Hey, busy month, 41% 2 weeks ago. We're now at 85%. Thank you, Unionville, for getting all that money in. I had it in by the 29th, escrow and all of your money. You guys have everything in front of you. You can share with the residents. I'm okay with that. Any questions? We wrote out the 3 checks as promised on the 28th. We did 1.567, 680 to the fire department. We also have 785,968 to the general funds, and the sewage is paid out for 2650. And I believe those checks are being signed, so you can disperse tonight in vouchers. Good news, we ended up, Eric, Steve and I were able to get a parcel exempt that was donated to us early last year. So we now have $911.96 that we will not spend this year towards the Reynolds property that was donated to us last year. So we're fully exempt. Interest in our account is $103.86. Our warrant is now short $306 because that parcel was removed. Thank you, Supervisor Frazier. As of February 29th, please remember that if your envelope is mailed prior to that date and it's not hand marked by the post office, I have to charge you a penalty. I've made many calls today. I felt terrible, but I have to abide by the law. So I have the envelopes. I could email it to the residents that I'm calling. Unfortunately, we have to follow the rules and I have to charge you that fee. So if it's not postmarked by February 29th, you're gonna get the March 1st fee and so on through the rest of the year, and that's a 2% penalty. And as of now, that's all I have. Anything else? Easy month.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we are at the public comment portion on agenda items. And as I mentioned, please contain it to 3 minutes. When you approach the podium here, we'll just recite your name and address, please. And I guess what I'm going to do is I'll go around the room in order. Anybody interested, please raise your hand. Mrs. Moore.
For over 50 years. Dear Supervisor Frazier and members of the Uniontown Board, since item 11 on the agenda for tonight's meeting was listed as a Mid-Hudson Library Service contract, I'm giving you a letter that was first presented at a town meeting in 2021 summarizing some of the activities of the Library Steering Committee and our town officials in regard to the library situation. Please pay special attention to the statistics provided on pages 3 and 4 showing that 188 survey questionnaires were returned to our town by Union Bell residents, a number which Betsy Moss said was considered to be a good return rate. The survey showed that a majority of the residents said a library is important to them and their family. Also, some people, in fact, 28 of them, said we do not need a library at all, and only 2 people answering the survey wanted to have an actual library in our town. I would also like to point out that it appears to be inappropriate to me and others that the town would provide employment now to the person who our former town supervisor hired to come up with the conclusion that we should have a library in our town, especially since the survey indicated otherwise. I obtained a FOIL document that shows Alex Cohen was paid $6,120 in May of 2023 for the task of library planning services work session number 1, data gathering visual scan. Why didn't he provide more information to justify the charge? Exactly what did he do to earn that money? How much time did he use to earn that money? And what special things, if any, did he do to earn the money? There is a total lack of detail in the billing. Another FOIL document for this year, 2024, indicates the same person, Alex Cohen, is being paid $220 an hour for working with the library trustees to get the new Union Bell Library started. He provided a little more detail, which includes talking to people, setting up email, reviewing websites, training volunteers, etc. Is that really worth $220 an hour? Again, why was he hired by the library trustees and not someone else? Is anyone monitoring the way the $237,000 budgeted for the library is being used by the library trustees? I am asking the town board members to honor the desire of the majority of our town residents and vote to join the Mid-Hudson Library System again by paying the fee that would allow us to use the facilities of any library in our area without any restrictions. It is a waste of time and resources to continue pursuing the dream of a Union Bell library when the Union Bell Library hasn't even provided proper services with the concierge services that are non-existent or inadequate.
20 seconds.
By the way, I have one more question. Have any of you dropped by the library during the hours it is supposed to be open? I have done so several times during the listed open hours. and the entrance has been locked up like a drum. My last question tonight, why do the library trustees have the town website list the library hours that are misleading and incorrect?
Folks. Folks, listen, folks,
This shows the webpage.
folks, please refrain from applause here. We got to keep an order in the meeting, please. Okay, anyone else would like to speak?
I could just say something. If you could get as close to the mic as possible, because the audio is being picked up on YouTube and I've been getting a few messages that it's not that loud. So that goes for everyone in the room.
Name and address, please.
Eileen Pucci, 27 Hoofprint Road, Millbrook. And I just would like to say for the 11 billionth time at these meetings that I support the town boards just signing the contract for library services. I have attempted to email the library director, and I was told I could email the link and get books. It gets bounced back. I was able to stop in the library last Friday, and it's just a pile of books that are plainly donated and don't deserve to be cataloged, piled up on tables and floors. So there is no library now after, what is it now, 5 years of talking about there being a Unionville library, and we could have library services almost instantly if the town board would just sign the contract and give us back our library services. Thank you.
Folks, please, no applause. Anyone else like to speak? Yes.
It's Debbie Lee. I live at 134 Wistman Road. I am a lifelong library user and supporter. It's very important to me, and I know it's very important to a lot of people. I strongly urge the Unionville Town Board to reinstate complete library services for the Unionville residents. There's a lot of senior citizens that depend on it, a lot of children's programming, and frankly, people want to go to the library that's closest to them. They don't want to make a hike. And we have these facilities for a small amount of money, relatively, to rather than building a whole, reinventing the wheel. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Oh, she jumped you.
I'm Sue Kilcrease, 84 Darren Road. To me, tonight's discussion is really not about whether or not we should build a library. It's about doing the right thing and compensating our neighboring libraries for providing us with quality library services. For over 4 years, the town of Unionville has not paid our neighboring libraries 1 penny. And yet these libraries have continued to let our residents check out books, use the resources in the library, and attend programs. Despite their generosity, it has not always been easy for Unionville residents. For example, parents of children born in 2019, think about this, would have first started searching for programs in about 2020. Not only were parents and grandparents navigating the pandemic, but as time wore on, they had to choose between traveling further to find programs with open drop-in programs or wait and hope there was room in more local programs. Many of these same children are going to begin kindergarten this year. Their entire preschool years, when a key way of introducing kids to the love of books is to visit the local library, has gone by. It's gone. While I'm sure some parents and grandparents, just myself, navigated their way through the confusion and still brought their children and grandchildren to the library, others may have missed out on this opportunity. I urge you all to do the right thing and restore our funding.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Anyone else? No, next.
Chuck Redwine, 22 on the Green, Burbank. All right, I don't think we should be supporting the Mid-Hudson Library Association. Okay, their bill went from 72,000 to 100 grand. It's unelected. The libraries just aren't being used. Closest library for me is the one up in Millbrook. My grandson goes to Elm Drive. Last month, somebody said all the kids from Elm Drive are going to have mandatory time at the library. His was suspended indefinitely in December. He has not gone to the library. When I go to the Millbrook Library, it's a community center with books on the shelf. That's all it is. If you turn around and go to the library, people aren't there to read a book. People are there for the activities. That's all it is. You want to turn around and read a book? Download it from Google, read it there. I put 3 kids through the SUNY system. Only 1 ever went to a library. 1. They all graduated too. So I just, I don't see a reason to support the Mid-Hudson Library Association. As I pointed out before, we have people sitting up here at this table, probably have kids that are of the age to go to a library. I'll bet you their kids haven't even visited a library. And if you're wondering what the senior citizens need, it's cheaper to subscribe to the New York Times online for $1 than it is to put gas in my car to drive to Millbrook to read it for free. Thanks.
No, sir, no, there's no back and forth.
That's up to him.
No back and forth. Thank you. Alfreda. Yes, please.
All right, can you hear me? I'm on the microphone.
Yeah.
Tillman, Shaughnessy Road. Can you hear me? Is that loud enough? All right. Ditto. I saw ghosts the other night. Not ghosts, the movie Ghost. So I say ditto. For everything that's been said tonight, we do not need a library in this town. It is way too late to even be thinking about it. The cost is exorbitant. I say we should go with the Mid-Hudson Library System. It's time. We need to have access to the library. And as whoever said it, the library that's closest to us, if that is the library of our choice. I'm tired of this. I'm old. I want to be able to get to a library, take out a book. Maybe Eileen, if you would try again to teach me how to use a computer, I would appreciate it. She agrees I'm too stupid, but I'll try it again. Thank you all for coming tonight. Now, Jean and I spoke last week. We understood that the library committee was having a meeting on Monday, was it, Jean? So I went down below and found knitters in the senior center, and Irish tap dancers or step dancing, whatever they were doing upstairs. Very nice upstairs. I could not find a meeting. I contacted Jean. There was nothing going on here. Contacted Jean, and she said she was trying all these electronic, what do you call it, platforms or whatever the hell, whatever. And there was no meeting. So if the library committee is having a meeting, I would assume it's open to the public. I am Miss Q Public, Gina's Q Public number 2 or 1 or whatever. And we would like to go to these meetings. But if we get done with this, we don't have to think about it anymore. Thank you, Jean. Goodbye.
Anyone else like to speak? Yeah, Karen.
Karen Riley. I live on Walsh Road. When we first got into the building, there was about 6 people here. And we all spoke to each other and asked if we were here for the same reason, to please urge the board to vote for this contract to restore our full access to the Mid-Hudson Library System. Everybody that was sitting with us agreed. I know nobody likes to get up and talk, but I feel there's a lot of people here that don't want to say that, but I urge you to please do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Yes.
Vicky Pittman, Brosco Road. First of all, I have to thank the volunteer ambulance for coming and saving me like a year ago. Thank you. I love living here. I moved here 25, 26 years ago. First thing I did was walk across the street, come over here to go see the library. And it was in one of the buildings. It was dark. It was dirty. It was icky. I was like, this is icky. And I'm a retired English teacher. So high school, regents, reading is fundamental. It's very important. I've been really confused about the library situation. Beekman is there. Millbrook is there. LaGrange is there. Pleasant Valley is right there. I've like lived for the last 25 years getting books, because if you have a library card, you can get a book. Having a library, it just seems like I love librarians. Where would we be without librarians? Like, they need to get paid money. So having library services and paying them for what they're doing, their expertise is that's what we have to do to have a society, you know? And we need to pay for what we're using. My kid, she's grown, graduated, and all that stuff, but she used all the libraries around here. I helped her out. We got by. The one thing that I loved about the idea of having a library here was the social aspect of community. I think Millbrook, they do a great job with getting their community in with the arts and culture and just all that stuff. We can still do that here. Like, let's be like reasonable and think outside the box. But paying for services that we're using in other communities it's essential. Like, we need to work together and be a community, because Unionville, we are Unionville, but we use the other communities' services, and we should really be we should support them. And I don't want to pay more taxes or anything, but we need to do what's the right thing to do for ourselves and for our community. And that's what I have to say.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Mina?
Karina Kelly, 239 West Clove Mountain Road. I have been speaking for 10 years on this topic. My son was 10 when he couldn't take out a Wii game on our first set of restrictions. So I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I'm going to speak directly to the town board. No one's asking you if we need a library or not. The last town board already made history. You voted in that Unionville will have a library. But now you have seen over the past year that that is not easy. That is not a short, oh, we'll just write up a charter, we'll just build a building, we'll come up with $2 million to make it work, and it'll happen. It hasn't happened. So for 5 years, the residents of Unionville have been restricted. This is not an either or. This is an and. Until this library committee can finally get everything in motion to have a legitimate library that is a part of the Mid-Hudson library system. This contract protects the residents of Unionville. We are taxpayers. We pay for this budget. I paid for it when I was a town board member, and I still pay for it. I've been lived here 28 years on the 15th. I've raised my kids here. I now have a granddaughter here. This isn't an either or. This is an and. This is a contract to sign until everything else is in place. I beg you to put your pride aside and do the right thing for the residents of Unionville.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to speak? Mike?
Hi, keep it short and sweet. My name's Mike Tucci, 95 Bloomer Road. I just, as a resident of Unionville, want to go on the record that I support paying for the library services. So I just want that to be on the record.
Thank you. Anyone else? In the back? I can't see who it is. Oh, Leah.
Good evening. I'm Leah Strazzeri. I live at 2536 Wingdale Mountain Road. I am a lifelong resident and have been here for longer than 50 years. My daughter grew up also in the town, and my grandchildren grew up in this town. I am a supporter of the town moving forward with the contract to get back into the Mid-Hudson library system. I did some research, and it was really hard, I have to tell you. It was not easy to get information about this topic and what had gone on. But the rudimentary basics are, I don't feel that our town or our residents need the additional liability or the absorbent expenses of adding a library. We have libraries in close proximity. They're fully staffed. They have computers. They have every book we could possibly need. Why are we duplicating anything? And the tax implications to us, the residents, are a huge difference compared to something like the Mid-Hudson Library for $94,000. That's about $20 per person. In the town of Unionville, we have about 4,500 residents. In comparison to the $2 million layout, which has a tax implication of $455. That doesn't talk about the insurance, the ongoing cost. I am not pro-library for our town. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who would like to speak? Yes. Mike. Oh, okay.
Judy Speaker, 152 Bloomer Road. I'm a longtime resident, over 37 years. I'm both a senior citizen and I work with elementary school children. And I will say that the library is very important to me. I want to have the contract reinstated so that we have full library services in neighboring libraries. I don't feel like we need our own library. It's an expense that I don't think we need, and it duplicates services. So I just want to go on record saying that.
Thank you. Mike?
Thank you. Mike McPartland, 15 Burbank Club Road. I'm on the Board of Trustees of the library. Thank you for not throwing anything. I've heard a lot of comments tonight, and I think a lot of great comments. I like the idea of an interim solution until there's a library here. With that said, I don't believe that this contract represents fair value with regard to that. Ultimately, this decision is the decision of the town board, has nothing to do with the library trustees. However, it's our view that if the town board feels an interim solution is necessary, while we await the approval of a charter. And I think there were some great points raised today about the challenges of opening a library. You're 100% right about all of those things. And we could certainly use help with regard to it. We have a lot of volunteers who have given their time and we appreciate it. But the reality here is that most of the services we are provided by New York State because we're taxpayers. Everyone here talks about restrictions. I'd like for us to define what that is. Because at this point, every resident here can use every single library in the Mid-Hudson library system. They can go in and get any book they want with the exception of something released in the last year or a DVD, a CD, etc. The town has already purchased resources for both of those items. We've paid less than $6,000 for all of it. So if you want a book, we can get that through our book provider. We'll buy the book for you. We're more than happy to do that. It's a lot less than $94,000. To answer a question I heard earlier about how much money has been spent, we spent $41,000 thus far. And that's the 2023 budget, of which $50,000 remains. None of the 2024 budget has been spent. The annual dollar amount of this contract does not make sense given how little the contract provides, especially considering that those services have already been purchased and that they already exist, and that most of them are covered by your New York State taxes. While this type of contract may make sense for towns that have no capabilities or resources, Unionville is neither of those. This doesn't take anything away, and we don't disagree that an interim solution might be necessary. What we do believe is that negotiating a deal with the combined knowledge and resources, expertise partnership between the town board and the library board would yield a much more favorable contract. For that reason, we recommend tabling the vote so that we can work together on a more equitable solution. I find it's very difficult to sort through these issues when they're so complex. Somebody made a point before about how hard it is to research this. It is very, very, very difficult, and it is very convoluted. The majority of the services we receive because we're taxpayers.
20 seconds, Mike.
2 items that we will receive if we sign the contract: access to materials, DVDs, CDs, and printed materials less than a year old. We have both of those things, those resources today. So we urge you to think from that perspective and to think in terms of a community center with a charter, not a big room full of books. I agree that's not the library vision anybody has, and I don't think it's the library vision that the town board has. Certainly not the vision of the trustees. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? It's really not a question and answer section in session. If you'd like to speak, that you're welcome to do that.
She said it's $20 a year for a Unionville
Uh,
taxpayer to pay.
Just
for
give your
library.
name and address,
She
please.
said it costs $20
Miss,
to get something.
Can you give your name and address,
Oh,
please?
sorry, my name's Yvonne Chasang. I live at 1980 Brownsville Road. So I just need clarification. The gentleman that was just up here said, I had no, I cannot interpret what he just said. Don't understand it, but he did say that if I wanted, or whatever, if I came to the Unionville Library and I wanted something, I could pay for it right there. So therefore I'd be paid $20 for something where I would be $20 for a year as a taxpayer for library. So that's what I just heard, and I just wanted to know if that was correct. Can I answer that or no?
It's not a question and answer session. I'm sorry.
So if that's the case, then I support.
I see a hand. That's fine.
To be allowed to see her, I have to wear. My name is Kathy Dunham. I live at 90 Highview Road. I use the Beekman Library pretty much weekly, if not multiple times a week. I feel like, and I hope I'm wrong, but to me, I feel like it's a political thing and not necessarily like a necessary thing. It seems like an agenda or something to have Unionville have its own library when there's libraries established. So I would like to go on record that I'm pro doing the contract as well. I just think that our money could be used, maybe our money could be used for you know, a better, like more rec department things for adults, like, you know, there's towns that we lived at in Vermont that had huge input with the community and people teaching stuff. That would be a useful thing to spend money on in this town.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Okay. We'll move on then to the first, actually, I have several letters here from residents that they have asked me to read. This one is from Mark Mendel, 19 Jordan Court. Dear Town Board members, this email is state my position on the library services contract negotiated by the town supervisor. Well, I didn't actually negotiate anything. I want to make it clear that my family and I are in favor of town going forward and improving library services contract for the following reasons. First and foremost, our daughters age 8 and 5 have benefited in many ways from using the libraries of the Mid-Hudson Library System. From the activities offered by these libraries geared towards young children to a venue for our younger daughter to receive speech therapy and just about everything in between, we have found use of the Mid-Hudson Library System to be extremely beneficial to our children's development and learning. I had listed several concerns with the previous administration regarding the Unionville Library. When the online services were first established, I was sure to sign my family up. We received a handwritten envelope and a library card that could be described, only be described as poorly printed on a paper business card. We were never able to log into online services, and several emails to the person who was running this program went unanswered, only to find the original library director had resigned and left town. To this day, my family has derived no tangible benefit from the library services offered by Unionvale. Additionally, questions were raised with the previous administration regarding the funding plan for the library, specifically if the New York State Comptroller would approve the plan presented to the residents for private donations to provide funding. No answer was ever given. There were also concerns of construction practices and building codes relating to the plan to retrofit an existing building into a library that went unanswered. We live in a world where we are trying to reduce the size and redundancy of government by sharing services. The town's library service contract is a shining star of where shared services benefit taxpayers. Engaging in such an agreement can also help the town avoid the potential and severe financial peril should the funding plan or construction concerns listed above turn out to be unfavorable to our residents. While all of the political wrangling that took place relating to library services, our town's youngest and most vulnerable residents who stand to benefit the most from library services suffered. This should be the most common sense and apolitical topic this town ever addresses. I urge the town council to approve library services contract moving forward in order to best benefit all residents of our town. Another one from Jennifer Rubo, 69 Eddy Road. Supervisor and town board unfortunately cannot make the meeting tonight, but I'm writing to show my support for resuming our contract with Mid-Hudson Library System. Karen Snare. Unfortunately, I don't have an address here. In Burbank, okay. I am unable to attend the town board meeting tonight, but I want to express my strong support for contracting with Mid-Hudson Library System and restoring full library access to Unionvale residents. Mary Jane Zukowski, Highview Road. Dear Town Board, thank you, Mr. Fraser, for reinitiating conversation with the Mid-Hudson Library System regarding the possible resumption of library contract to restore full access to library services. Your effort is appreciated. I believe that the value of this association has been ignored for too long. I'm a senior who continues to volunteer at the Beekman Library in an effort to help it flourish. I've also enrolled in enriching programs there as I have at the Millbrook Library. How wonderful to have multiple educational facilities within our immediate area. It's not my intent to debate the need for another library in this already educationally enriched area. I wish to remind you of the punishment felt by many of our Unionvale citizens, particularly seniors, when our full access permitted by the library system was dismissed. As one senior, I could only hope to survive until our educational freedom is restored by massive building effort way into the future. Why not keep our full access in the meantime? Unfortunately, I'm unable to attend the meeting, so she asked that we read her letter. And that is the end of those letters. So we will move on then to the first agenda item, which is the file cabinet for the building department. It turned out that the one that was going to be donated wasn't suitable for the needs. And George met with me then. He had given me three quotes that he had looked up. I showed you the least expensive one that he had come up with. The cost of the file cabinet is $1,865. The weight is 400, so that's going to have to come by freight. I'm anticipating probably about $400 shipping fee on that. The amount that was in the budget is, I believe, $1,200, so we're about $1,000 short to purchase this thing. So we would need to move some money into that line for him to
I would say George needs it. He's been asking for this for a while, and the security of the town, those records have to be protected in case of a fire, so I think we really need to move ahead with it.
And they only need one, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Any other comments? Do you want to make a motion to that effect, John?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. We purchased that least expensive of the 3 cabinets and provided to the code enforcement officer for his office.
And I would recommend moving $1,000 into the, that line for fund balance. Make that part of your motion. Okay.
Yeah, move money from fund balance to cover any shortfall in the budget.
Second on that motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay, we're back to roof replacements. John had asked me to get a second quote from a TIPS member, and I did that. It came in about 10% higher than the original quote. I still feel that TIPS program is the way to go on this. It will save us money and time and guarantee us a very good contractor that we have, at least I have very successful experience with. I'm not, anybody wants to make any comments, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I'll make some comments. Again, we still haven't been able to see a quote as board members. We've seen blighted out quotes. There's a second quote, which we haven't provided a copy of. We don't know what we're comparing. So I don't know how.
Well, once you decide which avenue you want to take, I'll provide you everything that you need to go that direction. But until then, I'm not going to expose these people from TIPS program to the public bid process that puts them at risk then. I've been involved in public bids. They're very well governed on how they're supposed to be operated. And I cannot share these prices with you until we decide which direction we're going. Our procurement policy requires us to go through the public bid process if we're not going to use TIPS. So that's the decision that needs to be made. If you want to go through TIPS, I'll be happy to share both quotes with you in full. If you want to go with the public bid direction, then that's what we'll do.
Well, I think honestly that I don't agree with you. I've checked with.
You can disagree with
I'm
me.
going to finish what I'm saying without being interrupted, if you could, please. So I checked with our town council, who said that you have no right to be able to keep those from us. They're foilable documents. Anybody in the town.
Well,
can
apparently,
request them.
unfortunately, he didn't share that
I would-
information with me.
Again, I would appreciate if you would stop interrupting me. So I spoke to him in regards to that, and the document should be provided to us, especially since I've requested them twice from you. And you've told me this is all that I'm getting. As a member of the board, I can't honestly make a decision in good faith without seeing what's going on, what quotes we're getting. So I would like to, again, request a copy of both quotes so I can make a decision on what I think might be the best avenue to go down. So again, I will put that on the record that I'm requesting both quotes. Until I receive those, I can't in good conscience make any determination on which way to go.
Any other comments?
I'm gonna have to agree with that. I mean, we gotta see what we're dealing with.
Well,
here.
like,
I mean,
as I said, when you tell me which direction you would like to go, I'll be happy to share those quotes with you.
Well, I think
They are from the TIPS program and not from our procurement policy public bid session. So they're two different things. It's,
Agreed,
when
but
you're prepared to make a decision which direction you want to go, I will share them.
Okay. I'm not the one that's gonna tell you what to do. I think that's something that we all have to do together and figure out which way we want to go. So why don't we do that instead of yelling?
I can give you the price range. The quotes that I received, one is in between 900,000 and $1 million.
I think you're confusing what you can give us and what you want to give us.
No,
Problem.
I'm not confusing anything.
You can give us anything we request. We should be able to get any documents that are sent to the supervisor's office because it's public documents. Public quotes that were sent to you. Keeping them from us is not logical and doesn't help us make decisions. So.
Is there only 2 contractors in the TIPS program?
There's nationwide. There's 2 locally that I was able to find. Yes.
2 only local.
Well, I personally would rather go through the bid process because then it gives us a very good insight on what competitive pricing could be.
Yeah.
And especially a project of this magnitude. There's so many roofs involved. a lot of surface area, and as you mentioned, be 900 to $1 million, 900,000 to $1 million. For us, that's a huge amount, so I
Sure
think
is.
we have to be as careful as possible on how much we spend.
I mean, I think before we start going down that road, shouldn't we identify what roofs are actually in need of immediate replacement?
urgent,
Since
yeah.
we just, at last meeting, we just went through the fact that we have a ton of capital projects that we've already had sitting in the queue for a while. It seemed more prudent that we start going through all of those.
Well, let's have
and
that
go through-
discussion.
What I want to say is going the route of, if we decide to go with the bid process, there's gonna be additional engineering involved. Where an engineer's gonna have to spec the job. So that's gonna be additional costs if we do go through the bidding process.
There'll be at least a delay of 3 months in putting the bid together and getting the bid received and then awarding the bid. That'll take at least 3 months. I have been informed as well that GAF Shingles intends to have a 15% increase in their product in August. So if we don't get this project awarded by that time, it's going to go up as well.
Well, the question is, what project? Which roof? Which?
Well,
We
I gave you
can't
the, I
possibly
gave you
do
the
$1
list.
million
here.
No, I know, but we can't possibly do $1 million for the
Well,
roofs this year, in my opinion. I don't know.
Yeah, the budget doesn't.
The
really
budget's not, that's.
involve-
We have $500,000 in money that we have to spend this year.
Yeah.
And there was 320,000, I believe is the number that was earmarked for that roof down here at number
That's
8.
right, yeah.
So that leaves less than $200,000 left to come up with. So, to say that we can't do it, and I'm looking at these projects on the capital list. A number of them are done. The capital list that I was able to come up with is from 2022. A number of them been done, and the remainder of them have been kicked around for 10 years or more.
Some of them have, certainly.
Yeah,
And they probably
and
need
one,
some
and several of them are the roofs that have been quoted here.
No
And
doubt.
believe me, those roofs are not getting better. The buildings are at risk. The longer those roofs are leaking, and they are leaking, the more damage that is being caused of the building, and the job is going to increase. The size of the job is going to increase.
I don't.
I think it's
dispute that.
irresponsible not to take care of a roof on a building.
I don't dispute that, but I think that we need to go through the roofs and figure out which ones exactly we're doing. I mean, say that we're
prioritize.
blanket, just gonna do all the roofs.
Well, I
without
invite you
any of
all to
us-
take a tour with
Yeah,
me
I
and
think
tell
we
me that
should.
none of these roofs need to be
That's
replaced.
exactly what I'm saying. I think we should all, for $1 million, I think we can spend a couple hours and go have a look and see what's going on.
I have no
We-
opposition to that.
We have I know one of the big ones on there that has been kicking out around is the dam.
Right.
That could get called in a second.
And we have
And
more
need
urgent
to have the
project,
money. We have,
the salt shed, which we're not getting the grant money for.
right. we
That's
just had that.
$365,000 estimate,
That's right.
And that was from when? The $365,000 estimate.
over a year ago.
Yeah. So just like we're talking about everything going up, I mean, again, we have the ARPA funds for the barn building over there. You said it's $320,000. Again, something that I can't verify, that I have no clue. It would be nice to have it in the proposal. So
I saw it was read at a
Meeting.
previous
In the minutes.
town board meeting.
yeah, and I think on the capital projects list, it's listed at 420,000. So that's what it was listed on the capital projects list from 2022.
Right.
So, and the ARPA ones were 440 at that time. So that's from last year. Who knows? Like you said, prices have gone up and everything.
We
So
budgeted that.
yeah, so that
high
roof could
to account
technically,
for that.
yeah,
No,
could technically cost more now. So, getting quotes on those things are important. I also think, Kevin, you brought up the engineering, right? How it's gonna cost more money and how we should look at what the structural integrity of things could be. But I think spending that money is prudent on us because if we get to a roof, we start ripping off the shingles and there's a lot more structural damage underneath that we didn't beforehand account for. These projects could double or triple in price depending on what's going on. So paying for the engineering costs beforehand and having an engineer come look at the projects to see what actually needs to be replaced, it's a no-brainer for us to do that.
A lot of that you're not gonna find out until you rip the roof.
Yeah.
Some attics you can get into, you can look at the bottom of the plywood, but you don't know until you get up there and walk around, and actually rip the shingle, see what's going on, if the wood is dry or rotted. So,
And-
I mean, absolutely, there's gonna be additionals that we're not gonna know about until you get to the project. But what I was saying is, for an engineer to come in, I'm sure it's gonna cost $10,000 or $15,000 for them to write a proposal for all the buildings and a spec to bid. So I mean, that's $10,000 or $15,000 we could be putting into material and, you know, through the other service, through the tip service.
I was given an estimate from our town engineer of $50,000 administration's cost fees for this project.
So I think that we could all put our heads together, a bunch of us here that have a ton of knowledge in this area. And we can go walk around, identify some of the ones that we absolutely know we have to address.
Well, let's plan to do that sooner
do
than
it.
later.
Yeah, let's do it. Because otherwise we're gonna argue ourselves till we're blue in the face here.
That seems to be the common theme around here.
That's not the goal.
Okay, Kevin and Pat wanted to speak about the recycle center.
This past December, I spoke with the guys down at the recycling center. There was a couple small things. Well, there was one small thing they were looking at that they think would be helpful for them and for the residents. It's an inexpensive outdoor bulletin board, about $400, where they can post what can and can't go into the bins. They think it'll be helpful because they say that's a question that comes up a lot at the recycle center when people bring in stuff and what can I dump and what can I dump, what you accept and what you don't accept. So that was one of the smaller items I was kicking around with the board. There was some other items that should be addressed. Last year, I think was, or the year before, we replaced the booth down there with a shed type pre-built shed. The door on that shed is not really like a weatherproof insulated door. It's more like kind of just bolted on and hanging, flapping in the breeze. Doesn't even have the correct hardware to shut. That's something that they were talking about. The guys would like to get replaced. Again, that's a small ticket item. Another thing they brought up is where the bins are on the lower side of the recycle center. Right now they're on either blacktop or dirt, and I guess when they have to move the bins around, it's tough for them to get placement. They would like to talk about the possibility of doing a concrete slab. That would be a more expensive project. It might be something we can plan for and you know, budget for. But like I said, the bulletin board should be a simple, simple, cheap fix. That door should be addressed. We are heating the inside of that booth, and cooling it in the summertime. A lot of that's going out the door. That door is being open and closed a lot. There's also a window that they brought to my attention on the booth. That's a double hung window up and down. They feel it should be a slide window, especially if they're going to use it as a service window for the customers when they come up. And I happen to agree with them for that. So these are things that we should discuss and see, what we can do. It doesn't have to all be done at once.
Yeah, so I mean, I agree. The bulletin board, I think, is a great idea. I think to add to that, I think maybe we should look into relabeling things down there in regards to helping with the billboard and directing residents on where to go to make it a little bit easier navigating through the recycling center. So I think that'd be a good initiative to take on as well. I agree with the shed, the door, once I did some more research into it about with regards to that. But I also talked to some people about the window, saying that it might be able to be hung differently so that it could be used as a sliding door instead of up and down. So I haven't looked at it myself, but some people have told me that.
Usually with the double hungs, because I have construction background, they're drained and they're pitched to go out. So as soon as you flip them over on the side, you capture water in the bottom track. That gets to the wall, you have other problems.
Yeah, so that's one of the things I guess that we could look into, and I think
That's a minor expense.
Yeah, so we could definitely look into that. In regards to the concrete pad, while they're always a good idea and it helps getting it back, it absolutely destroys the concrete pads moving loaded containers on them. It's what I do every single day. It's what I do on a daily basis. The concrete pad will be destroyed within a couple of years, and it'll just be an unnecessary expense that we'll have to keep maintaining over and over again. At least with dirt and blacktop, we can just patch a hole, fill it in, and go over it with the loader. So while concrete pads might help short term, long term, it just becomes an added expense that I don't think the recycling center needs to keep incurring. One of the other things at the recycling center is I just signed some vouchers. We are way overpaying for for disposal of our recycling. We are far above market value for what we're currently paying. Secondly, we are currently renting a compactor for $275 a month. You know, which I think in the long term is a loser for us. We could either buy something new or buy something used that could take that spot instead of constantly paying $275 a month for a rental on something. So I think that's something that we should look into as well.
What are the, I know you're in the business, what does a compactor cost roughly?
So a used one that's completely refurbished, you can probably get for about 15,000. A new one, you're looking at probably 30.
I remember the discussion when this came up, and part of that rental fee is a service plan as well. If that machine breaks down, then they come and fix it, and it's on them, not us. And that
Yeah.
was the reasoning behind the rental
they got pretty
versus
quickly to fix it.
versus owning it.
So again,
Yeah.
just things I guess.
Yeah, I can't disagree about the concrete. I've never seen them hold up over a long period of time. They do work when they're new, but they don't stay that way for very long with the weight that's on. I haven't seen any real solution that works long term.
No, so I mean, that's why I think, it's a good thing to start looking into. And I think that, we should definitely keep the conversation going in regards to the recycling center. Definitely think there's things that we can do to make it more efficient and make it better for the residents. And one of the things that I'm going to look into is the pricing that we're getting rid of recycling right now. So like I said, it is way above market value for what is in the industry right now.
And these are the same vendors we've been using
Yeah, I know.
historically.
Yeah, since the beginning.
It's not the vendor that's picking up or disposing of anything. It's the facility that we're dumping at. The rates are way high,
Okay.
way high.
Well, if we're able to save some money, that'd be a good thing. Anybody else on the recycle? Okay, so we have arrived at the Mid-Hudson Library Service contract. I have some comments of my own on this. This contract offer expires on 3/11. I did manage to have them extend it for us because I didn't get it out to you right away. I sent it to you guys on the 9th of February. It is an annual membership fee of, I think it's 93 and change here. Should have highlighted
It's
it.
$93,787.
There it is. Yep, 93,787. It's a substantial number. Our residents have made it pretty clear that they would like to have unrestricted service at the library. And I agree with them that this is not a Mid-Hudson versus Unionville Library. This is to get our residents back in the library system unrestricted until something better comes along. We also received a letter from Mid-Hudson Library System that stated until our own Unionville Library can offer the same level of services that the surrounding libraries will, then we will not receive any discount or lifting of services with the system. So that's still quite a ways off, if we get there. I feel that this will get our residents back into the system. And they've been denied that for 5 years. And made a bunch of empty promises, in my opinion, that we need to go ahead and get this done. Any other comments?
Yeah, having read the contract, it's basically the same contract from 2 years ago, except the price went up $20,000. And it really doesn't guarantee there's going to be no restrictions, even if we sign it. These other libraries have their own residents to cover first. We're second-class citizens in these other libraries. If they have programs and they fill up, Unionville residents or non-residents in that town's library will not get involved, will not be participating. So I think it's really a fundraising thing for them, and it's really not going to benefit us.
So,
Folks, I got to ask you to please remain quiet and you can listen, but no comments, please.
So, I mean, there's a couple of things that I want to echo in what John said. In this contract, we're still considered non-resident borrowers. So what that dictates to us is that the following restrictions, the library may impose the following restrictions on access to library services purchased or supplied with local funds. Mid-Hudson Library System may give preference to residents of their taxing districts for attendance at library programs. Mid-Hudson Library Systems may give preference to residents of their taxing district to use the computers and internet source resources. Mid-Hudson Library Systems may restrict the loan of special, experimental, or pilot collections or services purchased with local funds to the residents of their taxing district, such as museum passes, ebook readers, equipment, and electronic content in compliance with the Mid-Hudson Library resourcing sharing standards. So this contract does actually give them the ability to, again, still put restrictions on a town of Unionville residents. It says they may not impose restrictions on or authorize restrictions by member libraries on the loan of non-print materials and equipment and or printed materials less than 1 year old, including fiction or nonfiction books and periodicals on the basis of residence in Unionville. So while we might be able to not have restricted access to those couple of things, we can still be kicked out of library programs, use of the computers or internet resources, experimental or special pilot programs, as well as museum passes, e-readers, equipment, and electronic content. So it still gives them the ability to restrict us whether we're paying them or not. So I think that's a big issue in regards to this. This agreement that's been sent to us has already delayed our charter. It's already they have already put our charter on the back burner, saying we hear you're going to sign back with Mid-Hudson Library System, so we put our charter to the side.
Really, because we applied last October.
Yep.
It has not had no effect on the charter.
So it has.
It has not.
It has.
It
So
has not.
talk to the Department of Education, and
I did.
they say differently. So did we. So did
Okay.
we, and the people
Who's
that
we?
expected it. The Library Board of Trustees have checked. I've heard a lot of people talk today too about being able to still do some of these things at the libraries. So I'm also questioning what restrictions are really put in place currently at this point. This also did go out to a referendum a few years ago, and I think it was for, at that time, $68,000 or $72,000, which was voted down 60 to 40. You know, so rough numbers in regards to that. I've heard a lot of people say that libraries are needed as well. So pushing forward with our library, I think, is something that a lot of people agreed with tonight. There were also
Folks, please.
there
Folks, please. Folks, please.
there were also letters sent out with other things that were not true. As we heard from tonight.
Wait, so letters were sent out by who?
I'm not going to call the person out in the meeting. If you want me to, I will. Karina Kelly sent out an email to everybody saying that the Library Board of Trustees refused to meet with the town board and the town supervisor, which happened, I think 3 weeks ago. So that did happen. I don't know why that was sent out. That misinformation was sent out to the residents in the town. So I mean, I could print a letter and send it to anybody who would like it. As far as I know, that's as far as I know.
I didn't see it.
So I'll forward you a copy. So that was sent out to everybody that I know of that informed me that they got it. So, I mean, I think that there's a lot of issues with this. And I think, like John said, it's the same exact thing that happened a few years ago. And I don't see any change besides them jacking up the price on us.
Anyone other comments?
I'd like to have some comments. I joined up on this board. I was voted onto the town board a little over 4 years ago. When I joined the town board, the town of Unionville was already on restriction for library services. I know this has been a hot topic for the past 4 years that I've been on. You know, our residents would like to have services, unrestricted services. Again, you know, I was the only member that voted against building our own library here in Unionville. And my reasoning was based on finances, what it's going to cost to build, donation or not, and what it's going to cost to maintain that library is going to be a number probably 3 times what shared services would cost us. So I don't really use the library service, but we have to provide library services for our residents. They've been restricted. Nothing's changed in 4 years. I mean, the only thing we have now is there's some sort of plan to build a library. It may take 20 years for that to come to fruit if it ever does. And our residents are still restricted. They're still in the same boat they were 4 years ago. So this problem is not going to go away until a library is built or until services get restored for our residents. And that's, I mean, that's my opinion on this whole thing. You know, we're still looking at the same problem. It hasn't been fixed.
Anyone else? I would like the one, you mentioned the referendum. The referendum that was, it was whether or not the town should pay this fee back in 2019, I believe it was.
Yeah.
There was an absolute abundance of false information given out during that referendum. And I've heard it myself. And I feel that tainted the results of this. And had that referendum passed, we would currently be locked in at $4,000 on that library contract. So, you know, that increase that we're seeing now is due to the economy and the changes in the economy since then. And we would have saved $10,000 had we not interfered with that referendum. So, if there's any other comments here? I will make the motion that we move forward and pay an annual fee of the $93,700 to the Mid-Hudson Library System to get unrestricted services for our residents.
I have a quick question. I have a quick question in regards to the agreement. Has our attorney reviewed the agreement?
There's a motion on the floor.
Yeah, and I have a
There's a
question in
second?
regards to the motion.
I'll second it.
Yeah, now I do.
Now's the discussion.
Has our lawyer reviewed the agreement?
I have not forwarded to the lawyer. The lawyer hasn't been available.
I mean, I spoke to the lawyer today in regards to the agreement. Nobody's forwarded it to him. He hasn't reviewed it. So how could we in good conscience vote on an agreement that our attorney hasn't reviewed?
It wouldn't be the first time we've done that. Motion on the floor and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Councilman Cardelemi?
No.
Councilman Welsh?
No.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Councilman McGivney?
Aye.
Councilman Derland?
No.
I'll wait a moment here for the room to clear. Okay, folks, I'd like to resume. We're to the board candidates that, the vacancies on the two boards that we have. First is the planning board alternates. We interviewed 3 candidates. What's the pleasure of the board here?
I would like to nominate Chuck Richwine as one of the alternates.
Have a second on that?
I'll second it.
I'll second it.
I'll second.
We'll just wait a minute here. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, carried. We have second alternate position. We have 2 candidates left. And what's the pleasure of the board? I'll nominate Helen Schweitzer. Second on that.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Roll call?
Councilman Cardelemi?
No.
Councilman Welsh?
Aye.
Supervisor Frazier?
Aye.
Councilman McGivney?
Aye.
Councilman Derland?
No.
Those 2 positions are filled. Board of Assessment Review, we have Amy Harrington.
Yeah, I see this week we had another applicant.
Actually came in today.
Okay.
And that position's been posted for 4 weeks. I got a scathing letter from Councilman Cardelemi criticizing me for not getting this done previously. And
Well, I think you gotta be
you're
patient.
suggesting we delay this again?
I think
I mean-
you ought to be patient and we ought to interview someone else before we make a decision. I'll try to do that interview before the next meeting.
And the good thing is, we found out that we have till April 30th to the training session for the Board of Assessment review. So, while I think it's important, I think we should wait and interview another candidate.
Well, I'm going to make a motion that we appoint Amy Harrington to the vacancy.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Councilman Cardelli,
No.
Councilman Welsh,
No.
Supervisor Frazier,
Aye.
Councilman McGivney,
Aye.
Councilman Derland.
No.
Okay.
Okay, speaking of appointments, one of our library trustees is up for renewal. She was only appointed for 1 year. I would like to make a motion to appoint Diane Capizzuto to renew her appointment on the Board of Trustees for the library.
She had mentioned to me that she was not interested in re-upping. We had the discussion already.
Well, she's changed her mind.
I wish somebody let me know that.
I just did.
Yeah, well, previous to the meeting would have been nice.
All right.
Well, a lot of things don't happen previous to the meeting.
I
for a
didn't
lot of
know you
things.
were not informed, but
I'll second that motion.
You're making the motion that we're appointing Diane.
yes. Reinstating, reappointing.
Okay.
yes.
Roll call vote?
Councilman Cardelli,
Yes.
Councilman Welsh,
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier,
Aye.
Councilman McGivney,
Aye.
Councilman Derland.
Aye.
I have a couple of appointments that I want to discuss too in regards to the Conservation Advisory Council. So the Conservation Advisory Council for so far this year has not been able to have meetings because they have no chairperson. So one of the things that we need to address is assigning a chairperson to the Conservation Advisory Council. Lisa Lavins was going to and had expressed interest in being the chairperson of the CAC. So I also would like to make a motion in regards to adding her as the chairperson of the CAC to also appoint Jane Pfeiffer to the Conservation Advisory Council. She expressed interest in December in regards to this. She has a long history in regards to stuff that could assist with the Conservation Council in regards to cultural landscape reports for for a bunch of things, New York Public City Design Commission. She was on the Board of Trustees for the Industry Garden in Millbrook. And from what I hear, there's a lot of things that the CAC has in line to do in the spring, and we need to get this moving
Yeah,
forward.
like planting new plants along the solar farm.
Yes, so I think we need to get the CAC back up and running and in motion. So again, I'll clarify my motion. It's to appoint Lisa Lavins as the chairperson of the Conservation Advisory Council and appoint Jane Pfeiffer as a member of the Conservation Advisory Council.
Are those 1-year terms?
The Conservation Advisory Council, it's a 2-year term. So she'll be assigned to a 2-year term, and Lisa Lavins' term is still up. She'll just be moved to she'll still have valid. She'll be moved as a chairperson.
How long has Lisa been a member of the board?
I think it's gotta be 2 years. She's
Two or three.
2 or 3 years. She's been a member of the board, so I think her term expires the end of this year.
Okay, well, we got someone else to join because it's been a tough fight to get that staff on board.
Yeah, so
Okay, so a second on the motion?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay. Any new business?
Well, I don't know if this is considered new business, but for this year it should be. We've got to address the cell tower issue. We
I've been
really-
working on that.
You have?
Been speaking with both the state senator and assemblyman to get that in front of the state legislature
Great,
and get the annexation moving.
good.
is there
Alienation, yeah, okay.
All right, yeah, alienation.
Alienation, good, okay.
do we know if there's any specific time frame that needs to be done in? Is
They
this
won't
something-
entertain it until June. So we got plenty of time. I've been speaking with them. They
Alright.
said, don't worry about it.
Thank you.
That right now they're busy with the budget and don't want to even be concerned
Okay.
with it. Public comment on town issues.
My name is Kevin Harrington, Winchester Ridge Road. I think we wasted quite a bit of time on the roofs. Our February minutes referred to a crumbling roof at the rental. On the library. We do not have a library. We keep referring it to as the Unionville Library. There is no charter. Without a charter, you have no library as per New York State education law. At best, you might call it a municipal library. However, if it's a municipal library, the trustees are appointed by the public. The budget is controlled by the public. Okay, neither has been the case in this town. The process was kind of shanghaied by our previous administration and board, for that matter. And I am awaiting a call from two calls. One from Albany, from the Education Department, and one from the Regents on the charter. Okay, so hopefully at next meeting, I will have more for you. For $41,000, we have a room with a pile of books. We displaced our senior citizens for no reason, and we voted, you voted, against the will of the people in town. I am sure that that will come to haunt you in the future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments on town issues? Leah?
I'm Leah Strazzeri. I live at 2536 Wingdale Mountain Road, Poquoig, New York. I've lived in the town of Unionville for over 50 years. So, I'd like to make a suggestion. The contract that came in from the Mid-Hudson Library, I mean, contracts can be negotiated. You pointed out, Pat, is it your name? Yeah, Pat pointed out some wording that you had a problem with, right? And there were people in the audience and they shared the concern with that wording. But isn't it prudent to just simply be productive and say, hey, this wording could be edited in a contract, which would then provide an interim solution and be more about the resolve? I mean, it's pretty evident, you know, our government officials are elected. You guys are supposed to be able to, you know, come together and speak for the residents. Well, you guys just lost the whole room. I
There's
mean,
still some
that
people
doesn't really matter. You know, maybe I don't understand all of the details, but to me, if somebody says to me, hey, everybody would like to do this, then it's my job to find a resolution for it. And if the resolution is to take that contract and go back to the Mid-Hudson Library System and say, hey, library system, our residents don't really want to have this excluded language in it, right? The residents really feel like if our town's paying into it, then we want to be able to get a spot for the program for our child. How can we work together to reword this to make it better for our residents? That's my opinion on that topic, and it seems to be a pretty hot topic across the board. So, you know, for what it's worth, you know, we elect you guys. You guys work for us. So your personal opinions really don't matter. What matters is the people. We have a government by the people, for the people. And you guys have a moral and ethical responsibility to do right by us and find the resolve, not create chaos in our town or division between our communities. Find the resolve.
Thank you.
Just so you know, Leah, the letter from the Mid-Hudson Library System said this is a final offer. There's no negotiations.
There's always negotiation. We're in America.
Just want to tell you what it said.
Also, Leah, we did not negotiate that contract at all. We had no part, it just ended up in our inbox. And Pete, so sorry, but there was a motion made on the table to adopt the contract as it stood. And that's how it stood. And we completely disagree with the way that that contract is written and the amount that it's for and the wording it's in. And we would be happy to sit down and get on the library system and negotiate a real negotiated contract, but that's a contract that just ended up in our inbox. And we had, those that at least voted no, had nothing to do with it, had no knowledge of. Board of trustees from the library had no knowledge of. Nobody knew anything about it, just ended up in our inbox, and then there's a influx of people a month later. We have never had a discussion.
But this-
Oh,
this
listen,
is also
guys,
a
this isn't a
continuation-
question and answer session here.
But this is a continuation of the contract that we dealt with for the past 5 years. Did we get anywhere with that contract? It went back and forth, back and forth.
Continuation, the exact same contract.
We never-
approved this before, and now it's that much more
We didn't solve-
expensive,
Yeah,
which is
but
an
we-
indication of exactly what they said they
But we
wanted
didn't
to do,
solve it
which was
back
jack the
then.
price up.
We didn't solve it back then. And like I said, if we signed it before, it would have been less than it is today.
But it's still would have paid more than we want to pay.
But you know what's
All right.
the most interesting part about that is with the meeting with the library board of trustees, and also at our February 7th meeting, we had all discussed penning a letter to the Mid Hudson Library System to try to set up a meeting with them to discuss services and getting them restored. So the funny thing is that we all on the board agreed to do that. I sent out emails to try to set up a meeting with everybody to do that. But in the background, there had already been a meeting with the Mid Hudson Library System. And even at the last meeting, when we as a board voted to send that letter and to work on doing that letter, there had already been an offer made that nobody knew about until weeks after. It was all done behind the scenes and not transparent whatsoever. So
No, you knew about this since February 9th. I distributed it to you since
Correct.
on February 9th.
Correct. And February 7th, we talked about sending a letter at this board meeting to the Mid Hudson Library System to try to discuss with them about getting a contract to restore services. You had your inbox at that time already a contract offer from them, but none
For
of
2
us knew.
days. For 2 days.
It's in your inbox. Email is simple as easy to just click on it and read it.
Right. And there were
So-
there were some things mentioned at that. I guess we can call it a meeting that was with the board of trustees. That I wanted to verify as being true or not. And before I presented the contract, and I have every right to do that. So
It just keeps going back to the lack of transparency from the
there is,
supervisor.
listen, this administration has been much more transparent than any thing for the past 5 years.
You met with the
Absolutely.
Mid Hudson Library.
I'm not
System
going to
in
have that
December.
argument with you.
You got an offer in
Mr.
February
Richline, what
9th
would you
and
like to
February
say?
7th that wasn't given to us. I have the right to talk, so you can't tell me I can't talk. We also have still gotten quotes that are whited out from you, still refuse to give quotes. I asked you to reach
And
out
I
to
explained
Doyle.
that as well. It's
I asked
part
you
of
to reach out to Doyle
the
to
public
get
bid
an
process.
updated quote. You still haven't done that. I'm waiting for a letter from you that was sent to you from the court of a conflict within the board, you know? So no, it's not, Emery, and no, it is not.
Close session and have this conversation.
We should have a work session, you're absolutely right.
We should have a
Work session or not, this is not a conversation for this table.
But it was perfectly fine for you to discuss. Now I want to discuss and you want to cut me off. So, I have every right to answer you back and have a discussion, but the lack of transparency that's been coming from the supervisor's office is utterly
I've been
disrespectful to the
more
rest
than
of the
transparent
commissioners.
with everything except the pricing on that roofing, and I gave you a full explanation for that. How many public bids have you been involved in, Pat?
Probably close to
On this
70,
side of the
100.
table, on this side of the
I've worked
table.
With plenty of towns on working on public bids and bidding on public bids. I probably have way more experience than you do in regards to that.
On this side of the table.
100%. I've worked with
Opening
towns
bids?
on doing bids, working out bids, working on bid documents. So again, before you discount me on what I know and the knowledge that I have.
Well, I've spent
maybe
the
you
last
should ask.
15 years. I just did.
Yeah, you asked. Yeah.
I just did. I've been doing this for 15 years. These public bids have a very restrictive method of being taken care of. And when the bids are opened, you have to do it. The town clerk has to open the bids in front of witnesses. You cannot give these pricings out beforehand.
Yes, you can.
You can.
Yes, you can. Just
Well,
so you know,
that's not
I've
gonna
been
happen.
through that process. Do you know the best value proposition that was added to the bid?
Yes, I
public?
do.
You know why that is?
Yes, I do.
Why?
So that if you can
But do you know
reject
why
the,
that was added?
yes, I
AAA Karting versus the town of Southeast. My company that I work for sued because of illegal bid processes. And the law in the state was changed because of the process that I went through. I gave statements, I gave things in the court documents that changed the way public bidding was done in New York State. So before, again, you don't have a clue of what I do know and what I don't know. And you should probably, instead of being non-transparent with the rest of the board members, maybe you should reach out to the rest of us because you haven't talked to me, Kevin, or John once since you become supervisor.
let's talk about that. The three of you have been nothing but combative in these board sessions since I started the office here.
Have
And
you reached out to any of us?
I have. I keep you informed with everything that's going on here. And you mean what?
What?
You want to
And
empty
what?
your email box?
I would love to. I'd love to discuss that.
Every time something comes in here, I pass it on to the
Where
rest of you.
is my letter from the court clerk, from the judge,
What judge?
from Steve Diamond that I've requested from you from 3 meetings ago? Where's the letter? That
I don't recall a request.
in public at a meeting I did it. It's on video. I've requested it.
Well, I will get that to you then. I don't recall it being requested.
I've requested a copy of the redacted bid, the unredacted bid, and you say this is all I'm getting. That's
Well,
not
yeah,
right.
and I explained that away, you can ask me that as many times as you like. Once you determine that you want to go with the TIPS program, I'll give it to you. I'll give them both to you. If we want to go with the public bid portion, then that's the direction we're going to take, and you'll open them at a bid opening.
But
session.
again, this isn't Steve's rule
Well,
on what the board members get. This is a legal.
I'll tell you what, then you get an
consent
injunction
to the
against
town
me
board.
and then. we'll
I'm
do
going to
it that way.
formal it, and when you don't provide it, then yes, we will go to court. That's what'll happen. And it'll be on the
Mr. Richline, do you have
taxpayers'
something to
dollars.
say here tonight?
Sorry.
Do you have something to say?
No, I was standing here just to admire the view. Okay, couple things. I would urge the town board to be a little less siloed, work together. Okay, that's the first public comment. Second thing is, I think you're absolutely right on the roofs. For $1 million, you better be going out to bid. I wish your attorney was here. He'd probably be telling you the same thing. The other thing is, I think you made a right decision on the right call on the library, because I think you gotta, if you're gonna reinvestigate this thing, you gotta talk to your attorney before you sign a contract. I think you owe that to the town, or what are you signing us up for? All right, I'm a little disappointed your attorney's not here. Probably could have answered a few of your questions. So that's about all I had for public.
Thank you.
Anyone else with a public comment?
Betsy Moss, I live at Clove Road. I mean, it's unfortunate that there's some disagreement. But I think since day one, since 2015, actually going back to 2010, the town of Unionville has been arguing with Mid-Hudson Library System about the rate of pay they expected the Unionville to pay in. It was before any of us were involved. But it started in 2010. At that point, the town was given $30,000. Lizette thought that was enough money. They wanted more, but they wanted more primarily because they just come through that recession and they'd had a big, very economic downturn. It was very difficult. So it has been an ongoing thing. The town signed a 3-year contract, and then they set up a library steering committee that worked together for 13 months. There was acrimony in there too, for all kinds of reasons we won't waste time with. But there were some very good solutions that came out of that library steering committee. Then those weren't taken on because they were in the middle of a contract. And I know back then we were talking about 72,000, 69 to 72,000. And that was an exorbitant sum of money because we found that no other town in the state of New York would pay that, has ever paid that much. The town of Accord, which is across the river, they have a population of 7,700. They pay $26,000 today, a year, 26,000 to 2 different systems, 13 and 13. They pay for everybody that has a card and everybody that uses it, because if you walk in, you're soiling their carpets and you're using their books, and we should pay for that. We have an ongoing open offer on the website and to every one of the libraries that we would pay them. All these years, we said, we will pay you for usage. Anybody that walks in, we will pay you whatever your people pay. Beekman thought that was too low for them because they have much greater population, so their per capita number would be lower. We said, let's blend Beekman and Millbrook. Those are the 2 libraries we are hardships for. Let's blend that dollar amount together. We have tried to do that. They don't want us to pay just on the people walking in. That's what everybody else does in New York State. That's what the American Library Association said. Pay them for usage. The offer is a standing offer. We'd always kept it open. Now, that being said, it's sad that people are still upset about this. We authorize our own library because we would never, because they wouldn't allow us to do it the way people wanted it to be done. Half the town. Now, you think everybody in this room are the people that have the say? There are a lot of people out there that won't come to these meetings and have a lot on their minds. There are a lot.
Seconds.
So my point to you is that it's a very big discussion, not just of the people sitting in this room. Our way to try to resolve it was authorize our own, get the trustees going. Give them the authority to do what they can do. Support them. They have been fought and undercut ever since they came in. Now you've got a deputy, Kevin Harrington is making calls. Kevin Harrington is making
Time.
calls to New York
Time.
State about this. I'm going to finish.
Time.
And since he's doing that, it
You're not being
shows,
fair to the previous
it
speaker. Your
shows
time
that
is up.
everybody, it shows
Time is
that
up.
everybody has a problem. Yvonne, oh,
You're out of order.
Hey, you know, Yvonne, we had that lovely public hearing and we let you go on and on.
You're out of order. You're out of order.
And we should work.
You're
together.
out of order. You're out of order. Your time is up.
Time is up, but do you understand the point? Sorry, Yvonne.
I used to be on my board of directors of my union.
Probably easier.
Start talking, the time is.
We're going. I just, I just really want to urge the town board here to, you brought up some really good points. You brought up all of you have. I know you're reasonable. You want to do the best thing for everybody. Could you just please work together? Obviously, this is important. Having library services, I don't know if having our own library is the best way to go. I really don't. I hear about the money, like it's going up. You think you can talk to them? Do it. Like talk to each other. Please work for us. The roofs, like everything I've heard here, work with each other. You're making some good points. Don't be so political and hard-headed. Please work for us. I just want you to please do that. Okay. Cause you all seem like, I don't want your jobs. Please.
I will pledge to you that the Mid-Hudson Library System will sit down and discuss this contract, that I will make sure I do everything in my power.
I hope so. And I hope you do it with the blessings of your supervisor and the rest of your board, not on your own, but please work together for the benefit of all of us. Cause that's what you're here for. Yeah. But you make some good points. All of you do. And thank you so much for doing what you do, because it's a hard job and you have to deal with a lot of people who don't necessarily approve of what you're doing. So please, we live in kindness here. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's your birthday? That's your birthday?
Actually, my birthday was yesterday.
Anyone else like to public comment?
Happy birthday.
Kay Saglabani, 230 North Parliament Road. I am a resident, lifelong resident, and I am totally disgusted with this whole night. I think this is disgraceful. I think the energy that was brought in the room by her just made it even more just disgusting from what happened to our town. You left this town.
No personal attacks,
okay,
please.
sorry. What I
No,
have
you
seen-
don't.
What I've seen in the past very busy months, you trying to find emails because your whole server was deleted. And what you've come into and what you have accomplished has been nothing but wonderful. You've kept the calm town. You've kept the town hall calm. What happened here tonight was residents speaking up for their tax dollars, and for it to be diminished by all of you, work together. That's why we're here. Talk together. You all have valid points across the board. Tax dollars matter. The fire department, when that fee went up, residents were coming in saying, I have to go sell clothes on consignment, return bottles. How am I going to come up with that money? It's sad what's going on with our residents, and to have all of this and now all on these minutes is not okay.
Please.
It's not okay. So for us, as the town of Unionville, that was once very, very quiet, not that many years ago, is now very loud and across the board, just in the last 5 years. Please work together.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mike.
I just want to say, pleas that I just heard to work together. I could not agree with them more. It's critically important. As I said before, I think an interim solution may very well be the viable way for us to go. I think this was early for us to try to accomplish it all tonight. And I think that we should sit down and we should work together. I pledge to you that that I will absolutely do that. I also want to meet with the town. Would like to send out an email to invite people to come meet with the library trustees because I want to answer questions, because it's clear that there is a significant amount of misunderstanding and a significant amount of what we don't have and what we do have. The word restricted and full service are very, very big, broad, vague terms. I want to define those. We agree that we want to be partners with our neighboring libraries. We don't want to be a hardship to them, certainly, but we also want to be treated fairly, and we want an equitable deal. And I want very, very much for the Board of Trustees and the town board to work together towards that end. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, motion to pay the bills.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Next meeting is on March 20th at 7:30 PM. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. They're gone, right up to the 31st.